Hello and welcome back to the Java series of videos. In this video, we will go over the basics of object-oriented programming in Java. Normally, I would talk about objects in a later video, such as the 7th in C++ and the 5th video for Rust, at least the closest Rust has to actual objects. However, Java pressed object-oriented programming early on. In the previous video, you may have noticed that we had to put our main method in a class. This is why I'm covering classes early on. Classes are more of a blueprint for objects. They basically set out the data held by each individual instance of that class, i.e. the object. Object-oriented programming has four major pillars: encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, and abstraction. This video will cover the first one. The next video will cover the other three. I should briefly cover what packages are. Packages are groups of Java files, best showcased via the directory folder. The programs we ran yesterday were in the default package, which doesn't have a name. However, you could have a set of folders next to the Java file within the default package, and those directories would be treated as a package by Java. Files within the same package do not need to import each other. However, they will need to import classes within different packages. Java files within the default package can import other packages. However, files in other packages cannot import from the default package, hence why it's advisable to use the default package. Objects can have variables and methods that act upon these variables. The reason you would have methods is that the class might restrict access to its methods and variables or attributes. There are three major access modifiers available to method and attribute declarations. Public means that the method can be called from anywhere or the attribute can be read and updated without restriction. Protected means that the method and attribute are open to all code within the same package or within a subclass of a given class. If there are no modifiers, then the access is considered default, meaning the member of the object is open to the package but closed off outside the package. Private ensures that only members within a given class can access it. This leads to encapsulation, the idea that some data can be hidden and only manipulated in a controlled fashion. You can basically declare certain attributes private or protected and write methods that control what values certain private attributes can be. For instance, even though there exists a date class within the Java API, at least two actually, you can choose to write your own, and you split month, day, and year into separate attributes. Obviously, you would want to limit the values that the month attribute can be to 12 possible values. By only allowing a method to access the month attribute, you can assure that the value will always be 1 through 12. You can also elect to make a given method or attribute static. This means that the member applies to the entire class, not individual objects. In other words, if a variable is static, every object has access to the same copy of the variable, not its own copy. This is why main is declared with static, as the Java virtual machine doesn't have to create any object before calling main. For our hypothetical date class, we can also declare and assign a special date object and make it static, so that we can reference it whenever we want. In this case, we reference the start of epoch time, or the 1st of January 1970. In our next video, we will look at classes and subclasses, as well as interfaces and abstract classes.